You know, I had said for quite a time that when you spoke to a lot of Latinos, especially if they came from places like in Honduras or El Salvador, certain parts of South America that came from a particular regime, and they were very familiar with what was going on, which is why I had always said that much of what you were watching is for this point right here. When people wonder about why, a lot of, when it comes to the vaccine and when it comes to the disease, the pandemic, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. And it's for this moment right here. This is in Chicago. This is in Chicago after the Rittenhouse trial where Kyle was convicted, or where Kyle was not guilty. And the protests that follow are from a particular regime. America and Europe, the UK, not even 100 years ago, fought against this very thing. Many men that washed up on the beaches of Normandy fought against this particular tyranny. And it is the tyranny of communism. And it has been in America in the form of socialism. And like I've said in many of my videos, that socialism always leads to communism, as expressed by these individuals right here. And of course, it's through the utilization of minorities under the guise of white supremacy.
Solution is communist revolution. That's right, we need communism. That's what we need. We need that. We need that, sister. We need that to save us.
And this is basically what all of this is about, from the lockdowns to the vaccine passports to the vaccine to white supremacy nonstop to racism. It's for this very moment where you have Americans chanting for communism in a country that has been dedicated for quite some time to freedom. And people have been brainwashed. There is no coming back. There is no coming back from this for many of these people. It's why you can look at places like in Cuba, not too long ago, I'm sure many of you and I talked about it as well, where you saw the Cubans chanting libertad, or chanting for freedom. Very similarly, there were protests with the French also chanting the same thing. Very similar in Italy. But you really don't see the type of protests pushing back against tyranny in America, in the land of the free, right? The land that claims to be filled with people who claim to want freedom. And the reality is that has been further for the truth longer than I have been alive in this country. America has been a socialist nation for quite some time. Socialism always leads to communism, which is why at this very moment you're seeing, it is not by coincidence that you're seeing all of these countries in Europe and in the Netherlands you hear about pushing for lockdowns, and it's just because it's a wave of communism that is coming in. And the only way to deal with communists is you have to put them down. You cannot protest your way out of communism. You have to be able to drop bodies. That's the fact. You're not going to sit here with your little placard and walk around. There's been numerous videos talking about the huge protests in France and in Italy and in different parts of Europe. Protests don't win wars, which is what the American people are in. We're in a war right now. But for many people, many Americans just don't care. And it's because they just want to be taken care of by the government. And you can't be free and at the same time be cared for by the government. Either you value freedom and you're taking personal responsibility for your life, or you're telling the government that we want you to take care of us. And in essence, the government is going to have authority over you. And so when you hear all of these different, healthcare is a right, housing is a right, Social Security is a right, insert whatever is a right. All that means to the government is you want them to take care of you. And as a result, when push comes to shoves and the world is limited by resources, then they have to say, you know what, we need to exert complete control over these people because it's what they want. And I've showed in numerous videos with articles showing that overwhelmingly this is what many Americans want. And there's no going back. You cannot vote your way out of communism. You have to shoot your way out of communism. Many Venezuelans fled into fled into Colombia and brought with them the same ideology. And I've talked about this in another video where once the Venezuelans had destroyed their country by, in essence, voting for other people's money, they found themselves in dire straits. Did they learn the error of their way? No. In a video I had talked about numerously where now the people of Venezuela are pushing for social programs in Colombia. And Colombia doesn't have social programs because they don't have the type of economic system that we have here. They have an actual economy where everybody works and everybody has to contribute. And they have some of the most, minimal social programs. There's very little. When the country was on lockdown during COVID, they didn't give people money. They gave people a little bit of food because that's all. They don't have the fiat currency like America that they can just dole it out and print it in the back room. They have an actual economy. But Venezuelans who came from communism and came from a system where they hyperinflated their currency take that ideology with them into the new land. That's why you hear people often say, who come from California or come from New York, don't California my Texas, or don't New York my Florida. When you flee from where you came from, remember why you fled. For many of these individuals, they do not. And they come into their new home and vote for the same thing. That's why these people get ruined and you cannot share a country with them. The only thing you can do is leave them to their own demise and let them learn from their own destruction. And maybe their children will learn the hard way. But if you try to save these people, which is why I don't understand why so many Americans are constantly, you have a lot of conservatives and people on the right who are trying to help these people. And these people want you dead. Because the moment that this country falls to communism, the left will kill the right. The only thing that it will be is get up against the wall and turn around. That's what's waiting for many conservatives. And that's the problem is when you watch videos like this and they say this is a revolution, and that's what America needs, but America needs a revolution on the right. We don't need conservatives anymore. There is nothing to conserve. We need a revolution on the right side as well. And the only thing that it will take, there is no you go your way and I'll go my way. That's not going to happen. These people want communism. And the only way that you can get this stuff is by enslaving other people. You see what happens in China, where China will grab different nations and they'll basically put them to work, and America will stay quiet for the cheap labor. It's scary to openly see Americans chanting for communism. And this is by no means, I think there's another one here where they show another clip where you have a lot of people calling for communism. It must have been on Andy's, it must have been on his timeline, where it shows huge. This crowd is huge. This is not just limited to these people right here. They look like there were hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that were there shouting for communism. I mean, these are Americans. These are Americans who were there basically shouting that they want communism in what they call the land of the free and the home of the brave. I wish I could come across it. If I come across it, I'll link it at the bottom of this video. But this is in essence where the country is at. We're at a standpoint where if the people on the right don't take a stand, there's a very good chance that the country will fall to communism, and it will continue to get worse. There'll be food shortages. You will see your children starve and die. Everything that people didn't learn, 100 million dead from communism, you'll see it here in America. I wish I could come across, I don't know where I came across that clip, and it was like when they panned the camera out, you saw what looked like thousands of people protesting, and all of them chanting for communism. There was another one, they had a white lady on a bullhorn chanting, we need communism in this country to save us. And it's just, these people just don't know. As you can see, there are a lot of people in this clip. Many of these people just don't know better. But when the food shortages come, very much like the Cubans, they'll be wishing and longing for that freedom that they have. And it won't be there for them to find. The only thing that will be there will be what you see in places like in Cuba and what you see in Venezuela, which is the death squads that walk around and kill people. They kill people who protest against the regime. And this is basically where we're at. In the land of the free and the home of the brave. And that's really what we need. We need some brave individuals, brave men who are willing to fight for freedom. Because if you're not willing to fight for it, it's going to be taken from you by force. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.